Okay, hello everybody. This is Maya from Gilded Graphics, otherwise known as Shadow Sleek. Today we will be counting down some of your basics for Pixlr, the mobile editor. I'm making this video off the top of my head, so please excuse any weird ramblings, strange noises in the background, and me just sort of incessantly thinking about what I'm about to say because, yeah. Anyway, this is my home screen. Ignore my own background. I'll be playing music in the background because I always do. Also ignore the random anime themes you may be hearing. Anyway, let's get started. So again, this is Pixlr, the mobile app. This one right here on the bottom, second row on the right side, right here. I just edited it. I did not make that. I was testing something out. So today we'll be learning some of the basic functions of Pixlr. We're doing this all from scratch. Okay, let's not look at my selfies. Let's really not. Hold on while I find us a good base. Look at my friend's doggo and my other friend, and I have a lot of random pictures that you don't want to see. See you in a second while I look for a good base. Okay, so we're starting this again from scratch. Don't judge me. So we found us a base. Oh jeez, I lost the base. Screw my life. Oh, here they are. I think we'll just use this one. Very Elsa-esque, I think. So we'll be going through some of the basic features that you can get on Pixlr and how to use them. So let's start with this bottom right hand right here. That. So starting from the top left, you got your crop tool. Self-explanatory, honestly, this one. Original size, free, you can just sort of go however you want with it. 1x1 makes it a square, very useful for making icons, and great for centering your icons. And then there's the difference, 4x3, 4x3, 3x4. If you tap it, it will like auto adjust if it's landscape or portrait view. So, you notice. And then, again, rotate. I always found this fun to play with, but I never really had a reason to use the straighten tool. And of course, self-explanatory, vertical. This is a very useful tool though, so keep it in mind, because you can use it to switch back and forth between when you are using like a PNG of swirls or something and they can only be applied in one direction, since you can't flip the image that you're laying on top of something, this rotation tool comes in handy. We'll skip the double exposure for now because that's, really annoying. Well, it's not annoying. Again, I didn't write this script ahead of time, so I'm just going off the top of my head. We'll just hit the adjustments. And let's go through what each one of them does. I know this seems like probably kid stuff to everybody, but it's something to cover. Exposure. Okay, I don't have exact words for exposure, what exposure does, but it does that. It takes the bright parts and makes them, it magnifies them. It's like what I find is it's like putting a dodge overlay on your image, even if you're not doing anything, or kind of the opposite of dodging. It darkens it a lot. Now temperature is, you got your colds and your warms. This red bar obviously is warm, But the thing with temperature, it tends to like lower your saturation. Like the saturation of the colors, making everything orangier or, you know, bluer in this case. Bluish purple, actually. It's like leaning towards the purple side. So I tend not to use the temperature too much because then it messes with my saturation. And I never like to do low saturation graphics. Like low saturation, like singular color graphics, I guess you could say. So, and then put that. Contrast, that one should be pretty self-explanatory right there. It makes the brighters brights and the darkers darks. Yes. How did I become the captain of the Guild of Graphics? I don't know. I didn't become captain because I can explain things well. And of course, when you lessen the contrast, it makes the lighters dark. It makes the light darker and the darkers lighters, and you get something like this if you pull it all the way. So we'll just bring it back to about 0. Brightness, yeah, you get the gist. It makes everything brighter, and if you put it down, it makes everything darker. Vibrance. I just mess around with that. It's like it's sort of like saturation, but saturation doesn't mess around with like the brightness at all. It doesn't seem like it messes with the brightness, but it takes like certain hues and like makes them more prominent. I'm not quite sure how it works, but that's what you need to know. If you notice on the dress, it's like a lot brighter. There's more rose to her cheeks. Highlights should also be pretty common sense. Shadows, common sense. Saturation. Okay, hold on, let me reset this. Now back to saturation. Saturation is when you take the colors and make the colors more prominent. So if you raise the saturation, you notice that the blues are coming out, the greens in the background of the trees, and even the blue in the type of rocks. So, yeah, but if you lower the saturation, it starts pulling out all that color. Eventually it becomes black and white. So, one way to think of black and white is 0 saturation. Lightness, I guess you could say common frickin' sense. How bright that was. I haven't been on Pixlr in a really long time. And hue. Hue is, when you change the hue, you're changing everything in the color spectrum. So it moves around the color. While we're off the main, and we're done with that panel for now. While we're over here on the main panel, one tool there's a train in the background. Jeez. One tool that is like probably one of the most useful tools you will ever have on this app. See this blue circle in your upper right left hand corner. I don't directions. Up, you click that. This is the first time opening Pixlr in a long time, so it's going to show you how to use it. I never found this tutorial very useful. So you have your eraser tool. What your eraser tool does is when you run it over the thing, it brings it back to the way it was before you added an effect. This works for like almost anything. I'll demonstrate it with different types of mode. So this, see, look, it's making it blue again. Like, wee. And does it look like I made a mistake? I think it does. And so you can put it back if you made a little mistake. Maybe enlarge it a little. Get those finer details, yo. Because she totally needed a multicolored dress. Yeah. And you can adjust the brush size and how hard the brush is. Like, this makes it like really soft, the feather. If you put the feather like at the bottom, you notice it makes it hard and more circular. Okay. So, autofix. I never used it. I really never do. It usually gets rid of the blue and I don't like that, so. Auto contrast. Another thing that I never use, you can play around with it, and it's like sort of like adding topaz on Photoshop, which I never do. I don't know what topaz is. I've never used it. I might need to use it. Anyway, a blur tool, also self-explanatory. Although the blur tool is, I think, more useful in Photoshop. If we put this down to a 0 and use the circular blur, I do like this tool because you can blur stuff outside of wherever you are. Where, like, here's where it'll be not blurred at all, and then the lines are where it will fade through. Like, these inner lines right here will be, like, the most inner lines will make it so that they're not blurred at all within the inner lines, and then starts blurring outside of the inner lines, and then it'll be blurry. At least that's how it used to work. It's not doing it right now. It really isn't doing it right now. I don't know. I don't use the smooth tool. You could use the sharpen tool, but I don't recommend it. It makes it look weird. The sharpen tool often makes your graphic look a little... I mean, look, it does start looking a little cooler, but there's a point where it becomes excessive, so... What's this radius tool? I've never used it. I don't know. Heal tool. This is something I did use a lot. It's like almost like a tap blur. If you make a mistake, or if you are putting two images together, I do recommend this the heal tool. Now, it's not perfect by any means. Like, sometimes it can completely mess up your thing. See, it's doing that. Look at her hair. See, it's moving the dress around. The shade, it like, hold on, it's been a long time. Yeah, it's sort of like the spot tool over there, but it adds a little bit of light into it. I think shine does the exact opposite and adds dark. No, it just sort of like adds like it sort of makes it low contrast. Yeah, it mushes it together. This is like a blur tool that I would totally be into. Anyway, those are very useful, and I don't use the red eye. What's the splash thing? I don't remember. I mean, the splash thing is useful every once in a while, but it basically selects one color type and then brings it out while making everything else black and white. I definitely find it's very useful every once in a while again. And if you wanted to fix something, like say if you wanted that sash to be part of, all you just need to do is paint it back on with your eraser tool. See? Cool. Really cool. And if you didn't want this pot to be in the picture, you can just erase that effect off. I wonder where my music went. So, yes. Now we are going to go to the part that everybody loves. For manipulated covers, double exposure. So, of course, here you add your photo. I'm going to hope that I have a... Oh crap, I don't use this gallery. Quick. Let's see, hold on, let me find my thing. Hold up. Okay, so I found us a lens flare. This was like a really big question back in the day. I'm sure everybody knows how to apply a lens flare now. But if you don't, here's like a quick tutorial on double exposure. So basically you click that add photo thing, and then you select the photo to go over it. Double exposure is probably the greatest thing you will ever get if you're making a manipulated cover. Let's go through the different overlay thingamabobs. So, of course, we have normal right here. it just basically overlays your image right on top. You have your opacity here on the bottom. It's not labeled, but it is your opacity. I had to learn that the hard way. And so you can take it down or you can take it up. That's not how you apply a lens flare. That's not going to work. It sucks. You have darken, which is kind of like multiply, but it isn't. Darken is basically, it takes all the light parts and makes them invisible. And it also, but it's not quite as strong as this next one, which is multiply, and it's kind of like the hardcore version of darken. Or I should say it's more the 100% version of darken. Darken tends to leave this like weird residue-y sort of thing. Like you can see that there's still some of the red peering through. I'll show you the exact opposite with the light effect. We have multiply, we have color burn, which is also a similar effect. I like to use it on drop shadow. Yes. Okay, now we have lighten, which is like the darken version of this. It takes all the dark stuff and makes it lighter, or makes it invisible. But then the thing about lighten, it's like, it shows exactly how it is on the thing. Like, it just deletes it. Now, when you have the screen, it's a lot more natural, I guess you could say. You've got, it's like light shining through. I usually use screen or this other one called add. See, it's like having a sun in her hand. That looks really nice, actually. Amadeus, Amadeus, Amadeus. Oh, Amadeus. And then we have the color dodge, which does something like this. It's sort of, it depends on what your image is, but it like burns the light into the background, while still getting rid of the black. That's like when I was trying to explain color burn. See, it burns the black into the background, which is kind of cray. Well, color dodge burns the white into the background. And then there's add, which is basically like screen, but on steroids. It's like, add is like screen and color dodge had a baby together. And screen said, no, she's going to have my last name. And color dodge is like, but she has my eyes. See, it's brighter than screen, but not as like dodgy as color dodge. Okay, now you have overlay. Overlay is kind of like blending all parts of the image down onto your canvas. I'll show you this with like a color overlay, and it can be really cool. Soft light, it's like overlay, but without, overlay is like more burning it into the image, while soft light is more like layering it on top. Hard light, soft light, but on steroids. And of course more burny. Difference is basically you take the whites, like the white parts of if the white part of the overlay will invert everything on the image. But you see where the image is black? No. It doesn't invert it there. I use that with my watermark when I have a white background. It's very useful. Okay, that is that in a nutshell. I said I would show you the soft light overlay, hard light with a regular thing. So let's go find another thing. Change. I just listened to that. Let's just find the image. We'll just use one of these colors. What do you say? let's just show you how this looks with the different things. Darken. See? Multiply. Color burns the color in. While lighten. Overlay. So overlay again, it burns the color in. While soft light does it softly. I do this to add some color every now and then. Hard light, difference. I really not sure what the point of this tutorial was. I don't know if you learned anything at all, but I'll start going into different ones with font and stuff later. Suggest some mobile tutorials that you want to... Jeez, Aaron, stop blowing up in my thunder. Suggest some mobile tutorials that you want to see down in the comments. Thank you for listening. Hope this wasn't too long and tedious. And I'll see you in the next tutorial, I guess.